KLSVDIT Haryal. I welcome you to the lecture series on groundwater hydraulics. The subject code is 17CV742, semester 7, module number 1, and today we are going to discuss about lecture number 3rd. In previous classes, we have discussed the vertical distribution of groundwater, which comes under this CLOP 1 and lecture learning objective 1. In vertical distribution of groundwater, we have discussed about the different layers of water present on inside the earth crust, like soil layer, intermediate zone, and capillary zone, where the availability of a water will be highlighted and understood. What is the pressure or availability of what type of layer, which type of rock, what type of water will be present, whether it is free water or trapped water. We have discussed in previous class. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the aquifer parameters. In simple words, in last class we have discussed about where the water is present. In today's class, we are going to discuss about their water table parameters, which all the parameters we are supposed to study to understand the pressure of the water table. And also we have discussed about some of the different types of aquifers, like what do you mean by aquifers and what all the different types of aquifers are present inside the ground. That all we have discussed in previous classes. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the particularly aquifer parameters, which is very essential for the civil engineering construction purpose. Say for example, if you are constructing anything inside the subsurface, that time you are supposed to understand the pressure of water tables. That time these parameters will be very useful for the understanding the area depth wise. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about different types of aquifer parameters, like porosity, specific yield, specific retention, coefficient permeability, transmissibility, specific storage, specific coefficient. These are the different types of aquifer parameters. Let me tell you what is the aquifer parameters. It has the ability to store water and transmit water. The quality of a water stored by an aquifer and the quality of a water released by it depend on water nature and composition of the aquifer, which are quantified through certain parameters like porosity, permeability, as well as specific yield, storage coefficient, transmissibility, specific retention. Let's see one by one what all the different parameters we are supposed to understand to know the ground level. And these all the knowledge is required as a water, land and management department, as well as the groundwater department. These are all basic parameters which civil engineer has to study. Firstly, we will discuss about the porosity. That will be denoted as a n, small n, is the percentage of the rock or a soil that is the void of a material. Say for example, if you have one material, it may be soil or it may be rock. If that material having a percentage of voids, say for example, in previous classes we have discussed like in granite type of rock, what type of porosity will be there. In sedimentary rock, what type of porosity will be there. In metamorphic rock, what type of porosity will be there. If the material having openings or holes or voids, that is called as porosity. It will be counted in the percentage wise or calculated in the percentage wise. The larger pore spaces or a greater their number, the higher of the porosity and the larger water holding capacity will be there. It depends upon the holes. Say for example, sedimentary rocks, where 50 to 60% of holes will be present. That means the sedimentary rock will be rich with a water holding capacity. Whereas in granite rock, you will be having a less porosity, less than 1% also. Those are called as very bad porosity rock. Those will not hold the water. You can say granite as a impermeable rock, whereas sedimentary rock as a permeable rock. It is defined mathematically by the equation that is n is nothing but porosity equals to volume of void divided by volume of area into 100%, where n is porosity, Vv is the volume of void space in a unit of volume of the earth material. V is nothing but a volume of the earth material including the both voids and solids. Yes, as I told you, as I given you example, in sedimentary rock, porosity depends on the grain size and shape of the grains, and the degree of a sorting and the degree of a cementation. In a rock, the porosity depends upon the extent, spacing, and pattern of a cracks and fractures. You can see here, this is a material, one material where in between the material we will be having a pore spaces. That is called as porosity. In this diagram also you can see the cementation also takes place in between the material only. If you having a good percentage of pores like this, then it is called as good water bearing rock it is. Well-rounded, coarse-grained sediments usually having higher porosity than fine-grained sediments. As I told you, you can see the basalt rock or igneous rock, those are all called as fine-grained materials, whereas sedimentary rocks having a coarse-grained materials. So usually in coarse-grained material, the water holding capacity will be highest, whereas in fine grain material the capacity of porosity will be very less because of the compaction, because of the grain don't fit together well. That's why the voids will be less in particular areas. Since cements tends to fill in the pore spaces, highly cemented sedimentary rocks have lower porosities. Say for example, if you are having a compaction capacity will be more. Compaction is due to cementation only. If cementation is more, then automatically the porosity will be lesser in that particular region. Yes, you can see in this particular diagram. In this diagram, pores in unconsolidated sedimentary rock, you can see it is completely unconsolidated rock, which is not compacted one, where pore spaces are visible to R. And in this diagram, you can see the fractures are present in the particular rocks. So fractures and holes are differentiated by depending upon their percentage of voids. And you can see this gravel in this ranges. You can understand which material can hold, which material will be having more number of porousness. In consolidated deposition, the number of porosity is like in gravel, you may have 25 to 50%, sand 35 to 50%, silt 40 to 70%, and clay 40 to 70%. You can observe in this particular diagram, in this depositions, how the value ranges are differentiated. In rocks, fractures basalt, you can have 5 to 50%. In limestone, 5 to 50%. Sandstone, 5 to 30%. Limestone and dolomite, 0 to 20%. Shale is the highest compacted rock. That's why you can see in this particular shale and limestones are the highest compacted rocks, where material is completely fine or finer one. So we have only 0 to 10%. In dense rock, we have 0 to 5%. Say for example, this particular method will be helpful for the to understand if you have any construction projects inside the earth crust. That time you can have this particular materials to you can avoid water movement in the particular region. Say for example, if you are constructing any pile foundations, that time you may understand by deposition of knowing the deposition of the rocks. If you have a more compacted and more finer rocks, then it will be automatically, it is said to be a 0% of or 0 to or less percentage of a porosity will be there. If you are having a 0% of porosity there in that particular region, then automatically our water movement will be very less. So that will be suitable area for your construction. Like that, you can understand this particular method for the construction. The next parameter is specific yield. It will be denoted as S small y. It is the ratio of the volume of a water that drained from saturated rock owing to the attraction of a gravity, or you can call it as by pumping from the well. Specific yield is nothing but it's it is nothing but the total volume of the saturated aquifer. In previous class we have discussed what is saturated aquifer and what is unsaturated aquifer. In saturated aquifer, if you are having a percentage of water deposition in particular region, then it is called as specific yield. It is defined as mathematically by equation that is specific yield equals to volume of water divided by volume of a material, that is area, into 100%, where W is nothing but volume of water in a unit of volume of earth material. That can be written as centimeter square, centimeter cube, or meter cube. V is nothing but it's a unit volume of earth material. Like porosity, here also you can understand what may be the range of a particular material inside the subsurface. Clay will be having a range of 0 to 5%. The specific yield means the availability of a water, you can say, means how much of percentage of water can be yielding in that particular region. Or else you can say the specific yield is the specific yield of an aquifer is the ratio of the volume of a water which will drain freely from the material to the volume of the formation. Means yielding capacity will be dependent upon this specific yield. You can see the clay will be having a 0 to 5%. Means clay is completely finer material, that's why the yielding capacity will be very less. Then sandy clay, it will be having 3 to 12%, silt 3 to 19%, fine sand 10 to 28%, medium sand 15 to 32%, coarse sand. You can see here how the material is getting coarser, the range is also increasing. That means coarser material will be having a more percentage of your yielding capacities. The next parameter is specific retention, that can be written as a SR, capital S and small r. Specific retention is the ratio of the volume of water that cannot be drained due to the total volume of a saturated aquifer. Say for example, in an aquifer, if you have a saturated water table, that time it will not drain, means it will not yield by the pumps, or I can say any other materials. Since the specific yield represents the volume of water that a rock will yield by gravity drainage, hence the specific retention is remainder. The specific yield and specific retention depends upon the shape and size of a particle, distribution of the pores, and the compaction of the formation. The specific retention increases with decreasing grain sizes. However, as I told you, the compactions increases. If you have more compaction, then you will be having a more specific retention. Here you can see in this diagram, specific yield is nothing but illustrated the concept of specific yield here. In this particular diagram, you can see moist sand is there. In moist sand, you will be having a retention of 0.1%. Whereas in granular material, you may have maximum water and air. In specific yield, you can see in this particular material, rock and water will be there. In particular to in fracture rock, you will be having a more percentage of water deposition. That's why even porosity can be written as n equals to specific yield plus specific retention. That is that can be written as this one. Next one is coefficient of permeability. Permeability is the ease of the which water can flow in a soil mass or a rock mass. Permeability can be written as can be defined as it is nothing but it's a interconnected connection between two voids. Means it's nothing but it's a movement of a water in a particular material, and it is also correlated to the porosities, or you can say pores, which allows water to drain inside the rocks or soil masses. The coefficient of permeability can be written as capital K is the equal it is nothing but as equal to the discharge per unit area of a soil mass under the unit hydraulic gradient. It is nothing but a coefficient of permeability means how much of percentage of water can be yielding in that particular region, that can be understood by this particular coefficient of permeability, which allows water to discharge. Here you can see the word discharge. Discharge means allowing water to yielding. Because of the discharge per unit area equals to the velocity, the coefficient of a permeability has the dimension of the velocity. The coefficient of permeability is also called as hydraulic conductivity. The rate of groundwater flow is controlled by the two properties of the rock, porosity and permeability. As I told you, porosity is the holes on the material. Permeability means interconnection or interlocking of the two voids. Next one is transmissivity. Transmissivity can be denoted as capital T is the discharge rate at which rate water is transmitted through the unit width of a aquifer under a unit hydraulic gradient. Thus, transmissivity can be written as T equals to capital K small h, that is for unconfined aquifer, and T equals to capital K B can be written as written for confined aquifer, where B is saturated thickness of the aquifer and small b is equals to the depth of the confined aquifer. Transmissivity is nothing but it's a water transmitted through from the higher end to lower end, as we discussed for the permeability. It is equal to the average thickness of the saturated zone of an unconfined aquifer. Transmissibility is usually expressed as a meter square meter cube per day or per minute per meter or a day or a per month. Transmissivity of the most formation lies between 1 into 10 4 minus 1 into 10 6 with the average value of 1 into 105 liter per day per month. Okay, it is the illustrated diagram of or a concept of hydraulic conductivity and transmissibility. You can see these two are the hydraulic conductivities. You can see these two are the hydraulic conductivity, which is drilled in the subsurface, and this you can see as a confining bed. Confining bed means it's nothing but it's a soil layer which allows water to transmit Next one is specific storage. Specific storage can be denoted as capital S, small s, is the amount of water per unit volume of saturated formation that is stored or expelled from storage owing to compressibility of the mineral skeleton and the pore water per unit change in a head. Means it's nothing but it's connected to the hydraulic conductivity from the storage of the area. Say for example, aquifer is a storage of the water. Then connectivity between from the hydraulic gradient to the area of storage, that is aquifer, it is called as specific storage. This is also called as elastic storage coefficient, and the concept can be applied to both aquifer and confining units. Both aquifer means confined and unconfined aquifers. Yes. Here in one diagram you can see entire parameters of the aquifers. Consider this as a surface of the area. Here we have a one small water ponds or a water storage area. Here we can have a water table. Then we have another confined aquifer. Below confined aquifer we have a confining bed, that is impermeable rock strata. After impermeable rock strata we have a confined aquifer. Then you can see the direction of a flow of a water, it is towards to the a lake or a pond, which is discharging area. So here this entire area is called as recharge area, whereas this area is called as discharge area. This particular point is called as springs. You can see the groundwater system can be having two different layers at the same area. You can see all the either it is unconfined bed or confined bed. All water are flowing towards the springs only. That means the pressure releasing from the higher end to lower end, and it is completely completing towards the springs. Yes, in this diagram you can see how the deposition of the aquifer can be seen in particular cross section of the aquifers. In closely filled deposition of rocks, here you can see where it is called as very poor yield capacity of the area, whereas in large multiple fracture closely spaced should produce adequate adequate water in this particular region. Whereas in multiple fracture porous sedimentary rock, it is called as a good yield capacity aquifers. Whereas in completely binded, in this particular you can see it's completely binded materials are there, and this particular from this particular region we may have sustainable means not adequate also and not less also. That point of water can be released from this particular region. In this cross section you can see our stream valley is there. In stream valley, this may be the point of springs where discharge is taking place. Here you can see permeable rock layer is there, that is sandstone. Here high water level table is there, all the water is flowing towards the valleys. And here you can see fracture zones where aquitads are present here. I used the word aquitard. Aquitard is nothing but completely surrounded by the impermeable rock layers. So that's all from the aquifer parameters. In today's class, we have discussed about the aquifer parameters, different parameters, how to understand the different layers pressures by using these aquifer parameters. Thank you very much. In next class, we'll discuss Darcy's law, which will be helpful to understand or estimate the groundwater tables. Thank you very much.